all we had to worry about was astrophysics, Kepler's law, gamma rays, solar flares, rocket science, black holes, and the theory of relativity.
Hi folks, and welcome back to the Storm and Cellar. Today we're going to take a look at U.S. Space Force as a military service, its mission, rank, structure, uniforms, and where they fit into the military itself. The U.S. Space Force is the newest branch of the Armed Forces and was established December 20th, 2019 with the 2020 National Defense Authorization Act. Space Force is the U.S.'s sixth military service. Its responsibility is to organize, train, and equip space forces in order to protect U.S. and allied interests in space and to provide space capabilities to the Joint Force Commander. Like soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen, Space Force personnel are called Guardians. The U.S. Space Force headquarters and office of the Chief of Space Operations is located in the Pentagon, just like the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force. To give you an overview of U.S. Space Force, let's take a look at these videos and I'll give you my thoughts.
As you showed in that opening video, you showed pictures of, and you described a little bit about what the Space Force is and what NASA is. Let me start by saying we're not NASA. NASA is a civilian agency that's all about exploring space and planetary exploration and science. We're an armed service, and our service is focused on providing capabilities for our nation that fuel our American way of life, and they also fuel our American way of war. And so the average American, before you get up in the morning or after you get up in the morning, before you have your first cup of coffee, you have used space on several occasions. We operate the GPS constellation. We operate communication satellites, missile warning satellites. We launch those satellites into orbit. We acquire those satellites. And more importantly today, we protect and defend those satellites because they have become so critical for our nation and for our military. There are adversaries that are out there that are building capabilities to keep us from accessing those critical space capabilities for our advantage.
Again, space systems are an integral part of our way of life. We have become so dependent on space assets. For example, satellites not only give us GPS technology that we use in our cars, we use it daily, but allow us to surf the web, use our telephones, make banking transactions, and even allows us to use our credit cards. So what does Space Force look like? The Space Force is the smallest U.S. Armed Service, consisting of 8,400 military personnel and a total of 11,000 if you count civilians. The Space Force operates 77 spacecraft in total across various programs such as GPS, Space Fence, military satellite communication constellations, X-37B space planes, U.S. Missile Warning System, U.S. Space Surveillance Network, and the Satellite Control Network.
Some people look to the stars and ask, what if? Our job is to have an answer. We have to imagine what will be imagined. Plan for what's possible while it's still impossible. Maybe you weren't put here just to ask the questions. Maybe you were put here to be the answer. Maybe your purpose on this planet isn't on this planet.
For the type of technical folks that Space Force is looking for, I believe this is a great call to action for scientists, engineers, and technicians to join Space Force. Great short recruiting ad, I think.
Military City marked a major milestone for the armed forces this morning. Alongside hundreds of Air Force graduates, 7 young Americans made history as the first U.S. Space Force enlistees to graduate.
Space Force basic trainees will attend U.S. Air Force basic training at Lackland Air Force Base. E-4s will attend leadership school at the respective bases, and Space Command is establishing its very own non-commissioned officer academy at Peterson Air Force Base, Colorado. Now, officers will attend the U.S. Air Force Academy, U.S. Air Force ROTC at various colleges and universities, and Officers Training School at Maxwell Air Force Base. Officers will also attend the same PME, or professional military education, as U.S. Air Force officers. Those are Squadron Officer School, Air Command Staff College, and Air War College, all taught at Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama. Or they can attend other service schools, PME, as well.
This is the prototype of our new service dress. Dark blue with gray pants You can see the 6 buttons representing the 6 branch of the armed service. These are prototypes. I'm going to ask Ali and Dylan to stick around and love to get your comments. We'll take comments and tweaks here over the next couple months. Then we'll
Okay. Not a fan, I'm afraid. But as the U.S. Air Force had to go through growing pains, especially with its uniforms, U.S. Space Force obviously will have their pains as well. They're trying very hard to replicate what space movie characters have worn in the last 50 years. Okay, the buttons don't give you a lot of room for various accoutrements, such as the name tags forced under the ribbons. Also, if you have served on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Office of Secretary of Defense, or if you're on headquarters U.S. Space Force, I guess a couple of those badges will have to go on the back of the jacket rather than on the left side. Also, the rounded top with the tie looks really awkward, to say the least. I think they should ace the tie and have it fit around the neck, more like the Marines' dress uniform. Not much change in Space Force officer rank to the U.S. Air Force rank. The only difference is Space Force button on the epaulet. The enlisted rank sports a whole new design. E1 through E4 are now called specialists. The NCO, or non-commissioned officer tier, has the space symbol with 3 to 4 stripes respectively. The senior NCO, E7 through E9 stripes, get a bit more ornate. All have 4 stripes and 1 to 3 rockers above, and the space symbol intersects the rockets. Supposedly, they represent the 3 orbits: high or geosynchronous orbit, medium or semi-geosynchronous orbit, and low orbit. All in all, a pretty cool rank structure if you're trying to break away from the U.S. Air Force, but maintain a little bit of heritage built into the rank itself. U.S. Space Force has its own service flag as well, and of course, it's wielding the new space theme, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, I like the Space Force hymn called Semper Supra, which again means always above. It's catchy, but also says what U.S. Space Force is all about. By the way, it was written by Jamie Trechner, a Nashville singer-songwriter and U.S. Air Force veteran.
Intel confirmed. Probable ASAT launch.
You have 2 for data release.
This is Supers. ASAT launch from Grid Whiskey Charlie 6. How copy?
Copy. ASAT launch. Initiating threat reaction.
Sir, I recommend a mission transfer from Spacecraft 4 to Spacecraft 6.
Any attack against our space capabilities
Execute.
will be met with a deliberate response.
Killing track 05877.
At a time, place, manner, and domain of our choosing.
Finally, as Captain Kirk said, space, the final frontier. Our enemies are gaining ground in space because they know that's where wars can be won or lost. So whatever one might think of Space Force or their uniforms, they are truly dedicated guardians who are protecting our and your space assets that not only make our lives easier, but protects us from those who wish to change our way of life. Okay, hope you enjoyed this look into the Space Force and understand it a little bit better. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Share it with your friends to help the channel grow. And let me know what you think by leaving your comments below. I'd really like to hear from you space guys. Until next time, make sure your takeoff and landings equal.